Hello, 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 and welcome to Story Time. Let's see who we have in the building. We have, I'm trying to get comfortable. You would think much as I sit in this chair, it would be a little more comfortable than it is. Whew. Let's see who we have in the building. We have our very own Mr. Kane E. Moore, the hardest working man in the YouTube family. Mr. Kane Moore is acting, playing ball, going to school. How many of y'all can top that? How are you, Mr. Kane E. Moore? We have Edward Smart in the house tonight. How are you, Edward? Edward says, hey, Deborah. We have our very own Deborah Akpa in the house tonight. How are you, Miss Akpa? She says, hello, Deborah, glad tidings. We have Mobile Diaries in the house tonight. How are you, Mobile's Diary? I don't know if this is your first time to Story Time, but I am certainly glad to have you a part of the Storytime family. I appreciate you. I'm well. Mobile Diary says, how are you? And hello to everyone. Deborah Akpa says, hello to everyone. We have my brother Anthony Shaw in the building. He says, hello, Gigi Ray. Thank you all for rating me and following Gigi over here to Storytime. I appreciate you all for that. We have J Girl. Okay, let's see. J Girl by I could mess up a name in a minute. Bayati, J Girl Bayati Mua. Forgive me if I butchered your name, but I welcome you to Story Time. Thanks for following Gigi and her Gigi's Raid. She says, just became your new family. Thank you, and I'll visit your house later. Wrong tonight. We have Let's Chill ASMR in the building. Says, hello, host. Hello, everyone. So glad to have you. Just Chill ASMR. I think this might be your first time in Story Time as well, but we certainly appreciate you coming by, following the GG Raid. We have our very own 50 plus in the building tonight. Says, hello, Deborah. How are you, brother? And he says, hello to everyone. J Girl is saying hi to 50 plus. We have our very own Be the Difference Clothing in the house tonight. Says, hey, 50 plus. Deborah Akpa, Deborah Glad, J Girl, Anthony Shaw, Mobile Diary, and all. Deborah Akpa is shouting out Be the Difference. J Girl says, hello, Be the Difference. We have our very own Carolyn Eats All in the building. Says, hello, Deborah Glad Tidings. How are you, Carolyn? Carolyn is one of those people you're going to see in the YouTube street everywhere you go. She's on the scene everywhere I go. She's a great YouTube supporter because she is everywhere. When I say everywhere, her and Be the Difference, Edward Smart, those people are everywhere in the YouTube streets. Edward says hi to Be the Difference Clothing. Be the Difference shouting out Edward, and to Carolyn Eats All. Carolyn Eats All is shouting out Be the Difference. Be the Difference says GG Raid. J Girl says just call me J Girl. All right. Carolyn Eats says GG Raid. We have Shanique's Dreams. Okay. Says, hey, how are you? And hello, everyone. Shanique, I'm fine. It's a good day. Any day that's a pain-free day for me is a great day. So I'll take it. It's a great day. And welcome to Story Time. I think this might be your first time stopping by, but we certainly appreciate you. We have our very own She-Wanna's Creative Circle in the house. And she says, hey, She-Wanna, I really enjoyed that video you made of that 4th of July. I call it the 4th of July, the mannequin head with the flowers and the flags and the sunglasses. That was so nice. That was a very, very nice, creative thing you did there. I saw it today after. I could have been in the live. I don't remember, but I saw it today after your live today. That was so nice. Gigi told me you made it for a friend of yours, but it was really nice. Edward says, hey to 50 plus, and Anthony Shaw. Carolyn says, laugh out loud. Oh, thank you. Anthony Shaw says, hey to Be the Difference. AAA. Gigi says, hello everyone. Welcome to Storytime. Thank you, Gigi, for that announcement. And thank you for the raid. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you and Anthony Shaw and 50 plus, any of the people that are being mods for me, because you're my eyes. When I'm reading, I can't look up. So I appreciate that. Anthony says, Edward Smart. Hey. Shawana shouting out Carolyn East All, Edward Smart, Be the Difference Clothing, and Anthony Shaw. Edward saying hey to Gigi. Shawana says thanks. Anthony's shouting out. Shawana says hello. Edward says hello. Shawana Creative Circle. Gigi's shouting out. Deborah Akpa, Be the Difference Clothing, Mobile Diaries, Edward Smart, 50 plus, and J Girl. And 50 says hey to Edward Smart and Gigi and Shawana. Oh, excuse me. Anthony's shouting out Carolyn East All. And Shawana's shouting out 50, Shanique's Dreams, and J Girl. And 50 says, hey, M.R. Shaw, Mr. Shaw, how are you? All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I will be reading again from my book. We read from my book on Wednesday night, and I wanted to do one of the other stories tonight, but even though I had a pretty good day, I didn't get out of bed till like 4 o'clock. And I didn't get really up and moving till like 6. And then I was in the YouTube streets. So I didn't have time to work on those stories. As you know, those stories take me some time. So tonight I'm going to stick with where we were last, pick up where we left off Wednesday with my book. And then Monday I'll be ready to do my YouTube shout out. So I'm going to set my laptop to the side so I can use because I'm gonna need my lap for my book, and then after we finish our reading, I'll come back and we'll greet anybody I may have missed. Gotta see where I can set this and don't knock it over. Okay. All right. So Wednesday. Let's see. All right, so Wednesday we read chapters 11, 12, 13, 14. And those were the chapters. Chapter 11 was called Self-Inflicted Wounds. And that's the chapter where I'm saying how we go through life, and end up in these situations. And we want to blame everybody but ourselves. And it has nothing to do with the devil made me do it and all that. But everything to do with our poor choices and the different things we decide to indulge in. So that's why I called that chapter Self-Inflicted Wounds. Chapter 12 is called Faith Walk. And that's the chapter where I was just pretty much talking about, my faith and getting, where my faith increased as I went along, through difficult times in my life. Like when I was, I wasn't employed, because I was employed, but I couldn't go to work. Because by the time I was 6 weeks pregnant or something like that, I had to go on complete bed rest. And I wasn't married at the time, so I didn't have anybody to depend on but myself. I couldn't depend on total support from my family because they had their own families and financial things that they were dealing with. So that's what that chapter is about. Just when you're going through the difficult times, just, holding on to your faith, but at the same time realizing that a lot of times you don't have a choice anyways, because worrying about your situation isn't going to change it. It just adds more problems. So I just learned how to, I always like that serenity prayer, because it tells us to accept the things we can't change the things that we can. But more importantly, you need the wisdom to know the difference when it's something you can't change and when it's something you can. Because oftentimes we can do things to turn our situation around while we're holding on to our faith, but we have to know that we can. Sometimes we don't feel like we can, and we don't have the confidence that we can. Chapter 13 was called As a New Creature. And that was pretty much, that chapter was just pretty much talking about while you're in Christ, while you are a Christian, your life should reflect the change. Christianity or religion, whatever you call it, Christianity is not a thing, it's a way of life. And you should live the life that you profess. A lot of times we say we're Christians, we're saved, or however you want to put it, but yet we're still doing the same old things. Nothing about our life has changed other than what we profess out of our mouth. The word says confession is unto salvation. Confess with our mouth and believe in our heart, but at the same time, your life should start reflecting a change. You should no longer desire to do the things that you used to do. And don't get me wrong, because that old saying is true. Old habits die hard. Old habits really die hard. And think about it. The habits that we have, we didn't just learn them overnight. We started that thing and have been doing it for years and years and years until we perfected that thing. So sometimes just as long as it takes you to learn it and perfect it, it's going to take some time for you to turn it around. But the more you get a deeper relationship with Christ, you'll find that you no longer desire to do the things that you used to do. However, the word says the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So at the same time, too, we have to not get in these precarious situations to be tempted. Because everybody knows what their weakness is. We all know what our weakness is. So if you know that's your weakness, then that's what you're going to have to pray for God to help you overcome, and also practice it. Practice it so you can perfect it, just like you perfected the things that you were doing with the old man. Chapter 14 was called Rededication, because that's where I went through a period where because I had been in church all my life from young, and I just felt at that time in my life, it had been so many years to just rededicate myself to Christ. So that was chapter 14. So tonight we're going to start at chapter 15, which is called Super Saint. The reason this chapter is called Super Saint, and if you've been with me from chapter 1 up to this point, you will find that, yes, I'm human like everybody else. Yes, I make mistakes. Yes, I've tripped and failed, but I still know the word says, though we fall into fiery trials, don't think it's strange, because God still upholds you. He upholds you. And he'll give us a way of escape from a lot of situations we're in. We just have to say, am I going to choose door number 1, or am I going to choose door number 2? But anyways, at this point in my life now, I got a deeper relationship with Christ. You know, I feel like I can triumph it over everything. I got this, thinking I can't be tempted and the whole 9. So that's why I call this chapter Super Saint. We left off with me saying that going through whatever I was, when I was going through the rededication or whatever, and being restored from a lot of things that happened in my life, bad relationships, the death of my sister, and all this kind of stuff. And I talked about finally being to a point of feeling like I was restored. Some of the things, in my joy had been restored. So that's where we left off there. Okay, here we go. I was finally able to purge myself of some things like my baby daddy. I was feeling pretty good about myself and felt as though I could triumph over anything now. I continued on my course with the choir and attended church services regularly. I no longer sat on the back row at church closest to the exit. I moved up to the second row from the front. Seated right behind the big hat row. I sat behind the motherboard to be as close to the action as possible. Newness was taking place all around me. Five months after returning to work, I got a position that afforded me the opportunity to recommence my education. I had administrative duties and pay without administrative headaches. A lot transpired that year, but aside from occasional mourning of my sister's death, I wasn't complaining. Things really did look a whole lot brighter. During transition, I met the guy who later became my husband. See, I applied for a county correction officer position. I met him during the written examination process while on maternity leave. A group of us later enrolled in a pre-academy to help us pass the physical agility test. During training, we spent a lot of time together during the week, which spilled over into our weekends. We hung out for breakfast, had barbecues in the park, and attended house parties together. We were a pretty cohesive group until the pre-academy ended. We then went our separate ways. Several became correctional officers while the remainder of us got placed on a waiting list. A year had passed before corrections phone offered me a job, but I had already accepted another position. The job I took allowed me to have an alternate work schedule, so I had extra time off during the week. Having extra time off is what prompted my decision to get reconnected with the guy from our old clan. He lived nearby with his mom and also had a flexible work schedule. I wasn't 100% sure if he still lived with his old girl, but I was certain she'd know how to contact him. So I decided to swing by his place to see if he wanted to hang out. Surprisingly, he was at home and shocked to see me. He expressed how good it was to see me and then invited me out for lunch. We reminisced about old times and brought each other up to speed on our personal lives. During lunch, we talked a lot and he teased me about my baby daddy. I told him I hadn't been involved in a relationship for the past year and a half, and he told me he'd recently ended his. We also discovered that neither of us remained with corrections, but we both still worked out regularly, so it didn't present a problem for me when he asked if we could work out together. I wasn't interested in the guy, nor did I think he was interested in me. It was a good reunion, so we exchanged numbers to keep in touch. Once he called, we set up a workout regimen and worked out together 4 or 5 days a week. Soon we were working out, hanging out, and I found out how handy he was around the house. Being a single homeowner meant I could always use a good maintenance man in my life, and he was available each time I beckoned. And there was no pun intended for that, and that statement, it was not to get your mind in the gutter. No, he was not that kind of maintenance man. I offered to pay him for his services, the repairs at the house, but he always refused the money. Maybe that should have been a signal that he was interested in me or something. Perhaps I ignored the signal because he wasn't the type of guy I typically date. Certainly I wasn't bringing it up if he wasn't. He was fun to hang out with and all, but he lived at home with his mom. Didn't have a secure job, didn't have a working car, and I was almost 5 years his senior. He had too many ain't got no's for me to be wasting time with him. Yet we continued this prelude to a kiss for well over a year. Those rigorous workouts together were often pretty painful, so he used to use those full body rub downs to lure me in. As usual, after our painstaking workouts, he decided to give me a full body massage. This time he insisted that I give him one in return. He never asked that of me before. What's the big deal, I thought. He'd been rubbing me down for well over a year and nothing ever happened, so I didn't mind reciprocating. Was I playing with fire all along? I was strong in the Lord, and at least I thought I was. So being tempted by this guy wasn't a concern of mine. Honestly, I hadn't been affected by those massages before. Unfortunate for me, before. We both found out that I wasn't a super saint after all. Putting myself in this precarious situation caused me once again to yield to my flesh. Even Jesus, being full of the Holy Ghost, was led by the Spirit into the wilderness, was tempted, being tempted 40 days, tempted of the devil. So who am I? Let's stop fooling ourselves and getting in those uncompromising situations. That is why it is imperative to watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. We must tame our flesh daily to take on the nature of Christ by denying ourselves those sinful pleasures. If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. I know some of you are saying that's easier said than done. So did I. I felt the same way when the older mothers at church or the married women told us younger people to contain ourselves and abstain from sex. I thought to myself, that's easy for the mothers to say. They're too old. There's no more fire in the furnace. And the married women have their man laying next to them every night. Now that I am single again, I still battle with the flesh. But I now realize in order to conquer that which conquers me, I must stay rooted and grounded by meditating on the Word of God by day and by night. The Word is what's going to keep you. That is, of course, if you really want to be kept. He gave me my rub down first, and then I proceeded to rub him down afterwards. It started with him lying on his back, facing upward. I hadn't even noticed the guy. Just as it appeared, he didn't notice me. All those times he massaged me. I made it through the first half of the session with no problems. But a few minutes into the second half of the session, it was as though my blinders came off. I suddenly realized I had this 6 foot, 200 plus pounds of dark chocolate with buns of steel lying face down before me. As I stroked his body, I thought, why hadn't I noticed him before? The eye gate will mess you up every time. In this instance, I may not have been seeking to gain riches and didn't know how things would turn out. But I certainly began to desire and decided to enjoy what was set before me. This is also vanity and vexation of spirit. But at some point, unadulterated thoughts crossed my mind, changing the strokes of my hands and certainly my body language. What happened to Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 10 and 5, casting down imagination and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. That one must have gone right out the window with the big S posted across my chest. That was one spiritual battle Super Saint had just lost. Panic gripped me as I was thinking, surely he must be on to me now. What should I do, or what should I say now? It was evident that he was on to me when he rolled over, exposing all of his manhood fully erected. Staring straight into my eyes, he slowly pulled me forward and embraced me gently, followed by a kiss. Next thing I knew, I was wallowing deep in sin. I found out the hard way what Romans 7:18 meant. For I know that in me, that is in me, my flesh, dwell no good thing. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good I find not. I discovered as long as I continued to put myself into uncompromising situations, I was sure to fall. Did that mean I was no longer in Christ because I fulfilled the lust of my flesh? No, it only meant that I was out of his will. God knows the spirit truly is willing, but the flesh is weak. It was a little late, but immediately after the encounter, I asked him to leave. I kept hearing over and over in my head, "This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For I acknowledge my transgression and knew my sin is ever before me. So I repented and said, Lord, I know I've sinned, but I still hear you calling my name." The guy continued his quest to see me several weeks after the encounter, but I avoided him at all costs. Eventually, he showed up at my doorstep unannounced, pleading with me to let him in. While speaking to me through the security bar doors, I listened as he explained how deeply I'd been missed. I didn't want to hear that because I wasn't ready for a relationship and trusted men about as far as I could throw them. He wouldn't go away, so I let him in. I let him back into my space for whatever conveniences it provided me. I hardly had time for a relationship because I worked 10-hour days and took 16 credits per semester, which landed me in school 5 days a week. I was a single parent of three and had the added responsibility of caring for my niece from my deceased sister. The remainder of my time was devoted to church. He complained often and demanded more of my time, but I emphasized how my education was priority. I then suggested that he focus his attention elsewhere if he felt overlooked. Besides, I wasn't trying to get hung up on a mama's boy. The two years I attended school, I didn't bother to keep track of his activities because my plate was full enough. However, I did keep in touch often enough for him to provide me with some occasional stress relief. Maybe I was wrong, but I wasn't trying to get attached to him. In the interim, I started hanging out with someone I met at school. Allegedly, he was okay with my schedule because he understood what I was trying to accomplish. Strangely, he would pull these bizarre disappearing acts, but seldom visits were fine with me. Like I said, my plate was full. I thought I could hang out with him, but something didn't seem quite right. He was acting all paranoid or weird whenever we hung out together. He was constantly looking over his shoulder like someone who was involved in some type of illegal activity. He also owned a house in an expensive neighborhood on one end of town, but he lived in a gated apartment complex on the opposite end of town, all of which I verified, of course. In addition, he had scars on his body with the appearance of cuts and bullet holes. When asked how he got them, he said he jumped through his car window without realizing it was rolled up. He also gave me some lame excuse when I asked what was so urgent causing him to exit his car so fast that he didn't notice his window was closed. All I could envision was him being involved in a drive-by shooting or something, trying to get out of the way quickly. Perhaps his story would have been more convincing had he said he was involved in a car accident and was thrown through the window for not wearing a seatbelt. Go figure. He had a house and an apartment, drove a really expensive car and truck, yet he was a full-time student with a part-time job. It all made me wonder. Once I remember not speaking to him for a weekend when he called. Hold on, I might be on the wrong page. Let's see, 338. Okay, yeah. Once I remember not speaking to him for an entire weekend. When he called me Monday morning, alleging he and a friend had gone deep water fishing. Unexpectedly, he was asked to spend the night on the boat, so they didn't return to shore until the next morning. Poor phone reception was his excuse for not contacting me sooner. He also had a female roommate living in the apartment with him who allegedly was a business partner. It was obvious my presence annoyed her a little, but she was cordial whenever I visited him. Initially, she didn't hesitate to give him the message if she answered the phone when he wasn't at home, but as time progressed, things changed. I later found out she was an ex-girlfriend. According to him, she had nowhere else to go, so he felt obligated to help her out. I asked why he felt that way, but rather than provide me with an answer, he asked if she had been or said anything offensive to me. I detected some animosity in her tone. However, I called, but I assured him that she hadn't said anything out of the way. He said they had a business arrangement, but he wasn't able to disclose the details since our relationship was so new. What that meant was beyond me, but with all those uncertainties, I wasn't sticking around to find out. Shortly thereafter, Old Faithful showed up. He said he'd been there for me all along, and since we did everything two people in a committed relationship would do, he considered himself my boyfriend. Technically, he was right. So I finally agreed to give the relationship a chance. The next chapter is chapter 17, which is the road to marital bliss. A lot of things transpired within those past 4 years of us dating, some of which I considered major achievements. I graduated from college with my bachelor's degree, and then I received a promotion on my job. More importantly, spiritual growth had taken place in my life. I finally felt as though I had made a genuine connection with the Lord. I discovered what true worship was all about, gained more wisdom, knowledge, and a deeper revelation of God's word. The wisdom of the Lord is more important than anything one could ever imagine. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold. Wisdom is more precious than rubies, and all the things thou canst desire are not to be compared unto it. Length of his days is her right hand, and in the left hand riches and honor. Wisdom ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to them that lay hold upon her, and happy is everyone that retaineth her. So if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally and unbraided, and it shall be given him. My beau, on the other hand, had made much. Wait, maybe I skipped some. Hold on. Okay, right. I was talking about the progress I made. Okay. My beau, on the other hand, hadn't made much progress at all during our courtship. While I was out there pounding the pavement, I was so focused on getting mine until I didn't realize how far behind he was lagging. Thoughts of bailing out on him crossed my mind regularly, but I wasn't quite sure how to handle it. He appeared to have a good heart and great potential. Perhaps he was just a diamond in the rough that needed a little sculpting, or maybe not. That was my dilemma. What if he had the potential but lacked motivation? Without motivation to be an achiever, his potential was useless. I wanted to believe in him, but wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? He having a dream and potential, or me having faith that he could excel, didn't matter if he wasn't motivated or willing to get his hustle on. Mom always said you can lead a horse to the trough, but you can't make him drink. In other words, his potential could only take him as far in life as he was willing to go. Remaining in the relationship was a huge gamble, because either he'd latch on to the vision for us to become a great team, or he'd drag his feet and become a hindrance to me. As I contemplated ending it all, I heard the voice of my girlfriends, my sisters and girlfriends, sounding in my head. You'll never get married because your standards are too high. That's what's wrong with you educated sisters. You won't bother to give the average working guy a chance because you're too busy chasing the suit and tie type of fellow, echoed from guys I met in passing who showed interest. Of course, those were guys I would never have considered dating. Never saying a word, I just look at them and smile, thinking, yeah, at least most of them have secure jobs with benefits and their own place. I've always bailed out on relationships during difficult times. You know the old saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Suddenly it occurred to me, I couldn't keep investing years into relationships to have the end result in me walking away. 2, 5, 10, how many before you're labeled or learn? Don't stop counting, because I'm sure not. I'd already given this guy 4 years of my time, and a relationship prior occupied about 10. It really was a tough decision since I'd already acquired feelings for him. I was trying to determine things like how much energy would I have to exert to raising him up if I stayed in the relationship. What if I discovered that all he had was potential? How much longer should we date? I knew the relationship couldn't continue on its present course, and fornication put me in direct violation of the word and will of God. For that reason alone, I wouldn't even participate in communion on first Sunday. I couldn't keep doing late night creeps and breaking bread unworthily. To me, indulging in sin and then repenting, knowing you are anticipating those same pleasures, and then indulging again becomes habitual. As a result, we are practicing sin, making the word of God of none effect through our traditions, which we have been delivered, and many such like things we do. I knew better, and so do many of you. Therefore, to him that knoweth to do good and doth it not, to him it is sin. It would be better for them to not to have known the way of righteousness than having known it and then turn away. Corinthians 7:89 says, if you cannot contain, restrain from having sex out of wedlock, then marry. For it is better to marry than to burn. That scripture doesn't just apply to females, guys. It is good for men not to touch a woman. Nonetheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Marriage is honorable in all, and not until then is the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. I knew marriage I knew marriage would be challenging, which is probably why I was engaged twice before. I figured by now I was up to the challenge. Besides, they say behind every successful man is a strong woman, and maybe this was all he needed. Without either of us fully understanding scriptures like 1 Corinthians 7:32, he that is unmarried care for the things that belong to the Lord, how he may please the Lord, but he that is married careth for the things that are of the world, how he may please his wife. The subject of marriage came up. Did that scripture mean because I wanted a husband and he wanted a wife that we'd rather please man than God? No, it just meant interference. It just means you may be drawn in diverging directions, since your interests would become divided between your spouse and the Lord. As an unmarried woman, I was concerned and anxious about the matters of the Lord, how to be holy, separated, and set apart in body and in spirit. But once I got married, my cares become centered on earthly affairs, like how I may please my husband rather than God. I would say, but I never heard my husband openly profess to being saved. I knew 2 Corinthians 6 says, be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with unrighteousness, and what communion has light with darkness? Yet I married him anyways. During our marriage discussion, he expressed not having a foundation or a sound financial future to offer me. He didn't quite put it that way, but it's not like he had any major investments or stocks or bonds waiting to mature. Translation, I'm not ready to get married. He knew by then not having his own stuff wasn't a major issue for me, especially since my foundation was already laid. He also knew I wasn't going to be wasting any more of my time on the dating scene. He didn't have to convince me that he wasn't ready, because I was thinking he may have been doing me a favor. How I saw it was that was my exit cue. Rather than say to him, see you when I see you, with reluctance, I still expressed my willingness to support him and help him achieve his aspirations. He still seemed a little confused about what he wanted. I, on the other hand, didn't want to invest any more time into dating someone headed in a different direction than me, or no direction at all. So we parted ways. Shortly thereafter, he begged me to reconsider the marriage aspect of our relationship, and I did. We set a date and wedding plans were made. Reflecting back on the situation, I now realize what was wrong with this picture. Whoso findeth a wife findeth, according to Proverbs 18, whoso findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtain favor of the Lord. Had he even recognized that I was a good thing? To me, the whole ordeal felt more like let's make a deal. Will he choose door number one and stay in his present situation, living at home with his mom? Or will he choose door number two, cut the umbilical cord and gain his independence? I felt his decision to wed was merely to prevent anyone else from discovering this good thing. Two months prior to the actual wedding ceremony, he broke his ankle in 3 places and had no insurance. Then there was the family feud. He didn't have any medical insurance, and we needed to get his medical expenses covered somehow. So we snuck down to the courthouse and got married. We figured it wasn't that big of a deal, since by then the actual ceremony was only a month away. So that was the road to marital bliss. Chapter 17 is role play. So here we are, going through all this stuff to get up to the wedding and all that sort of stuff. We had him with no financial stability. We had in-law drama, that kind of stuff. So that was the road to marital bliss. Now this is called role play. This is where we actually get married and still he hasn't figured out his role as a husband. So that's why this is called role play. And remember, he broke his ankle pretty bad, so he had like a metal plate in his leg with like 10 bolts and screws and stuff. So the recovery period was extensive. My husband was off from work a whole year before the doctor finally released him to return to work. Yet he didn't seem eager to go. I'm certain watching me hold things down the entire time he was off, coupled with him being self-employed, contributed to his slothfulness. He made home improvements like building renovations, cabinet installations, tiling, painting, and others. My frustration with our financial situation prompted me to pressure him into obtaining an 8 to 5 like everyone else. Because he'd work a couple of weeks to make money and then he'd lay off a couple of weeks. For instance, he did a big tile job once and then he stayed at home for another 3 to 4 weeks afterwards. When confronted about it, he told me he didn't see the problem since he'd just given me $3,000 towards the bills. He didn't seem to grasp that you don't do a job and then lay off for weeks at a time. You keep working because the bills don't stop. They continue rolling in. With a sincere look and a stern voice, he replied, "If you have been holding things down on your own as a single parent, anything I bring in should be extra." What is wrong with this guy? I thought. Is he for real and doesn't he know his role as the head of the house? I told him he didn't know how I managed to make my ends meet before he came along. But it became apparent to me that he really didn't care. I was supposed to be his helper, not a financial crutch, and I certainly wasn't his mother. I didn't mind taking up the slack when necessary, but I wasn't about to take care of a grown man capable of working. I still couldn't believe he expected me to. What nerve trying to transfer his mother's role onto me. We had several disagreements concerning his role and money. More and more, it felt like I married the wrong guy. He never professed to be a Christian, and to add insult to injury, he didn't believe in Deuteronomy 14, tithe all the increase of thy seed that thy field bringeth forth year by year. That created even more conflict in our marriage. Each time I wrote a check to pay our tithes and offering, he complained, telling me we were sowing our finances aimlessly. Haggai speaks of individuals that think that way. Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, this people say that the time is not come, that the time that the Lord's house should be built, yet they dwell in their fancy houses while the Lord's house lay in waste. Many don't fully understand that tithes are for kingdom building. Ecclesiastes 10 says, a feast is made for laughter, and wine making merry, but money answers all things. Don't you need it to function in your own houses? Well, the ministry needs money to operate the same way. And I know there are a lot of misappropriated, stolen funds in churches. I've heard it a dozen times. But we can't worry about that. We just have to do our part. I made it very clear to him that nothing and no one would separate me from the love of and the will of God. If it ever came to a point where I had to choose between him and God, he'd have to go. Maybe I shouldn't have quite put it that way, but that's how adamant I was about the things of God. Okay, and that concludes our story for tonight. So we left off there, and there's some more to read in that chapter called Role Play, but we'll pick up on that the next time. I hope you all enjoyed those chapters of my book. I hope you actually have enjoyed for those of you who have been here since day one of the book reading, I hope that you enjoyed the entire book, what you've heard so far. And keep in mind, I'm not reading the entire book page by page. I'm skipping through the book, reading excerpts still trying to create a storyline. So there's a lot that I haven't read. For those of you who are new to the stream, I am a published author. This is the book. My book is called My Struggle in Broken Pieces, A Healing for My Soul. That's the book I'm reading from, and we're up to chapter 15 now. The book is available at Amazon.com. I do book giveaways. From the time I've been doing story time, I think we've done like 72 or 3 story times or something like that. And since that time, I've given away about 12 books. So some of the people here actually in the stream tonight, they have the book. They have been saying they've been enjoying the book. It is available, like I said, at Amazon.com if you're interested in purchasing it. Let's see who walked into the building, because I do not want to miss anyone. Let's see if I can figure out where I left off. I want to make sure I acknowledge everybody. I don't want to miss anybody. Okay. We have our very own Miss E. Johnson Wootson in the house. She says, hello, everyone. And while I'm going through and seeing who I missed, if there's any birthdays, can you throw it in the stream? Because we want to celebrate your birthday story time style. So if you can throw it in, if you got a birthday you're celebrating in this Cancer season, everybody except 12 bells, throw it in the stream so I'll know, so we can celebrate you story time style. So Gigi says, welcome to story time, to Anthony Shaw, Carolyn East, Shanique's Dreams, and Let's Chill ASMR. Ms. Wooten's here. Our very own Be the Difference Clothing is here. J Girl says hello to E. Johnson Wootson. E. Johnson Wootson is shouting out Be the Difference Clothing. J Girl is saying hello to Anthony Shaw. And J Girl is saying hi to E. J Wootson, shouting back at J Girl. And to Gigi, Carolyn Esau says amen. Edward Smart says born again. We have First Son's Motif in the house tonight. How are you? I appreciate you stopping by Storytime. I don't know if this is your first time here, but we certainly appreciate you. E.J. Wootson shouting out Edward says you have been featured in Storytime. She's talking to Edward stories before I recognize your name. Yes, Edward is a celebrity in the house, Miss E. Johnson Wooten. You are absolutely right. In fact, Edward was featured in a couple of stories. So you're right. That's how you recognize the name. Gigi says hello to First Sons Motif and E.J. Wootson. Welcome to Storytime. We have It's Nickalicious in the house. Hello, sis. How are you? You all got to go by Nickalicious channel. She says, hello there, sis. Praying. Thank you, baby. I appreciate the prayer. Nicolicious was in somebody's live with me late hours, us night hours. I don't know why she was up. I couldn't sleep. But anyways, Nicolicious didn't know that I was already her family. And she threw some love in there and wanted me to show some back. And I had to let her know I was already her family. And I had only watched some of her, reaction videos. But I tell you, last night I decided to go back by Nicolicious' house and look at some of her videos. She put some different videos up there. It's these ones, they're short, but they are hilarious. And I was sitting there and I had other things to do, and I found myself clicking on one after another, and I finally had to say, let me come back to this another time, because I could have sat there all night clicking on that girl's, that woman's page, cracking up at her videos. She had me cracking up. So thank you for stopping by tonight, Nicolicious. Gigi saying, welcome to the live to Nicolicious. J Girl says, good story, sis. Thank you, J Girl. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Nicolicious says, thank you so much to Gigi and praying. We have our very own Eating with Miss P in the house. How are you, Eating with Miss P? So glad that you could join us tonight. She says, hello to everyone. Edward Smart says, hey, Johnson Wooten, yes, Deborah made me a star. Oh, Edward, you are funny. J Girl says, hello to Eating with Miss P. Eating with Miss P is shouting out J Girl. Gigi shouting out Eating with Miss P and says, welcome to story time. Be the Difference says, hey to Eating with Miss P. Eating with Miss P shouting out Gigi and Be the Difference. Carolyn Eat All is saying hi to Eating with Miss P. Gigi says, oh, wow. Carolyn's got the same kind of eyes on the emojis, like, oh, wow. They must be doing that when I was talking about that dark chocolate. Gigi says, getting harder her. Well, it's getting harder here for me, Gigi, because this personal summer attacking me. That's what's getting hot here to me. I don't know what's getting hot with you. But this personal summer kicking my butt. I don't think it could get no hotter than this. Eating with Miss P is saying hi to Carolyn Eats All. Carolyn says, it sure is, Gigi. Deborah Akpa says, hey to Gigi. E. Johnson whooped, laughing out loud, and got the hot emoji. Oh my goodness. Gigi saying hi to Deborah Akpa. Eating with Miss P is saying hi to Deborah Akpa. She wanted Crave Circles, just smiling. Be the Difference said, Law, was he married? No, that was who I eventually married. Be the Difference. Life Hack. We have Life Hack in the house. How are you, Life Hack? I think this might be your first time in story time, but we appreciate you coming to join us. Life Hack says, hello, host. We got our very own troublemaking 12 Bells in the house, says, I made it before the end of the story. Look at that. It's a time with her. I tell you the truth, but I love her. 12 Bells says, hey to Be the Difference. Be the Difference shouting 12 back and Life Hack. Shawana says, hey sis. We have Ghetto Preacher in the house tonight, says, here by invitation. Ghetto Preacher, the invitation is always open for you to join us in story time. I appreciate you coming by. Eating with Miss P says, right at Be the Difference. Be the Difference says, hey to Ghetto Preacher, and says, or a drug dealer, or no drug dealers in my life. Be the Difference. I escaped that route. I almost went that route, but no. My good sense told me to stay away from that. But then that guy may have been, that's my impression. He probably was. I escaped it. So, I thank God for my children, because I really believe that if I didn't have any children, I probably would have went that route. But it's just I always caught a visual of dating a drug dealer and somebody after him kicking my door in and killing me and my children. So that steered me from that direction. Ghetto Preacher says, sup BTD. 12 Bells says, hello to 50 plus. Gigi's welcoming 12 Bells and Ghetto Preacher and Life Hack into story time. Ghetto Preacher saying, thanks. 12 Bells says, Be the Difference clothing. I'm going to just start saying, hey Joy. Edward says, 12 Bells, hello. Be the Difference laughing at 12 Bells. 12 Bells is shouting out. Ghetto Preacher says cool beans. We have our very own one virtuous woman in the house tonight. She says, blessings to you, sis Deborah. Thank you so much for joining us, sis. I hope you had a chance to find that story you were featured in. Ghetto Preacher says, hot beans. 12 Bells is shouting out Edward Smart. And Gigi shouting out one virtuous woman. 12 Bells says, hey to Gigi. And we have KU Studios in the house. KU says, hello, everyone. KU Studio, you were featured in our story. If it wasn't Wednesday gone, it was either Monday, Wednesday, or Friday last week. I can't remember, but I know it was recent that you were featured in our story. If you look at the description box, it shows everybody who was featured in the story that night. So hopefully you can find the story where you made your cameo. 12 Bells says, hey to KU Studios. Ghetto Preacher says, sup KU. KU says 12 Bells hi. 12 Bells says, y'all never get married. You'll never get married. The nerve of some men. Don't say that. I'm still trying to be optimistic, 12 Bells, that maybe I'll get married again one day. It took me a long, I was a runaway bride twice. Or was it 3 times? I know at least twice I was a runaway bride. One of them down to, I went as far as 2 months before the wedding, kind of runaway bride. So, hopefully I'll try it again one day. It's at this point my bitterness is past. So I'm okay with trying it again. I don't know when it'll happen, but I'm okay with that. Gigi says, welcome story time to KU Studio. KU says, Ghetto Preacher, hello. And Gigi's Lab, thank you. We have our very own Sharonda, the goddess. She was a celebrity in our story, this recent past, our story time, a few days. She says, hello, my darling host, and hello to everyone. E. Johnson Wooten says, don't forget to give host thumbs up. I appreciate that reminder, E. Johnson. Sharonda says, hello to Be the Difference. Ghetto Preacher says, dang it, that sounds like me in my old days. So I creep, yeah, just keep it on the down low. It's funny, it's funny, Ghetto Preacher, because that was my ringtone for somebody. That song you just talking about. Sharonda the Goddess says, hello to KU Studio. Gigi says, welcome to story time, Sharonda the Goddess. Sharonda says, hello, darling, to Gigi. 12L says, hey to Sharonda the Goddess. I'm running your playlist. Sharonda says, hey sis, 12L's. I appreciate you so much. 12L's. Sharonda, hit me up on IG too. Hit me up on IG. Debs _tidings. Ghetto Preacher says, let's make a deal. Sounds like my dating life. Oh, you're bad. You're bad. You're bad, Ghetto Preacher. I'm going to need you to bring that stuff under subjection. Sharonda says 12 L's, and she put it, okay. Karen Ezall says, hello to Sharonda the Goddess. Shawana Creative Circle says, good story. I'm glad you enjoy it. Shawana was one of the people who won one of my books, you all, and Shawana probably read the book in 2 days. And so now her daughter's reading it. I said, well, I appreciate that's an indication she enjoyed it to go through it that fast. Sharonda the Goddess saying, hey to Carolyn East. All Carolyn says that's an unsteady relationship. Yes, it was, but Carolyn East, all honey, that wasn't the first. I think I've been in unstable relationship from chapter 1. J Girl said, gonna have dinner, a very good, interesting story. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. She says, nice meeting you too, and I'll have to come check you out. She says, bye everyone. Let's see, my stream jump. So I want to make sure I catch everybody. I don't want to miss anybody. So J Girl says good night. Sharonda's saying good night to her. Sharonda the Goddess says, I always enjoy your story time. Thank you, Sharonda. I'm glad you enjoy it. Anthony Shaw says, hot in here. Be the Difference Clothing says, I've enjoyed it. Thank you, Be the Difference. Deborah Appa says, great read, Deb. Thank you, Deborah. Gigi says, yes, it's a great, deep story, sis. On 10. Shawana says, thanks for the story tonight, Deborah. You are quite welcome. We have our very own Mama Dale in the house. Hey, love, and all in the live. It's Mama Dale. Thank you for joining us for story time tonight, Mama Dale. You've been featured in about 2 stories. One a while back, and I think one recent. So maybe within the last 2 weeks you've been featured in a story, but you were featured in one a while back. So I hope you get a chance to go see it. I watched your preview the other day, premiere the other day. I was in your live, but for some reason, again, nobody could see me. But I was in your premiere the other day, yesterday I think it was. It was either, I lose space and time. So it was either yesterday or the day before when you had your premiere. Sharonda says July 7. Oh, that was your birthday, Sharon? Okay, that's fine. We can still celebrate you storytime style. 12 L's is laughing and making goofy faces. Mama Dale says, hey sis, to Shawana and Gigi, Carolyn, Esau, and Joy. Gigi says, welcome to Storytime to Mama Dale. 12 L's says, Sharonda, you a Cancer. 12 L's, you're not the only Cancer. Look at 12 L's trying to take over the Cancer season by herself. Carolyn Esau says, hello to Mama Dale, throwing some flowers. Sharonda says, yes, sis, 12 L's. We have our very own dancing diva in the house. In time to dance during our story time. Miss Full Roller, she's shouting out me, Mars, Gigi's Lab, Anthony Shaw, and chat. She says, hey, y'all. Gigi says, happy belated birthday to Sharana the Goddess. Mama Dale says, hey, love, Miss Full Roller. E. Johnson Wootson says, Deborah, glad tidings to everyone in the live stream. I have the book, and it is more to the book. Awesome story. Yes, it is, E. Johnson Wooten. It is a whole lot more to the book that I'm not saying. So they'll have to purchase the book or win the book to find it out. Because I can't read the whole entire book, but I'm creating a storyline enough to give them the gist of it. Sharana the Goddess says, thank you to Gigi. Eating with Miss P says, hey to Mama Dale. Gigi says, welcome to story time to Miss Full Roller, the Dancing Diva. Carolyn says, hello to Miss Full Roller. 12 L says, hey, Miss Full Roller Sierra. We're going to work that thing out. That's right. We're going to work it out for Sharonda. We have our very own, the Revenge of Wolfman in the house. Hello, Wolfman. How are you? I hope you're well. Mama Dale says, hey, love, to Eating with Miss P. Eating with Miss P say, I enjoyed the story. I'm glad you enjoyed the story, Miss Eating with Miss P. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to do a book giveaway tonight when we do the 2 Live crew. I'm going to give away a book tonight. Miss Full Roller says, say the 12 bells. Yep. Anthony says, the book is hot. Laugh out loud. Gigi says, no, that full body rub down. We have our very own Julie Issy in the house tonight. Julie, you were also featured in a story. I don't know when, but you were featured a while back. Julie Issy says, hello, everyone. Hello, host. We're glad to have you, Julie. 12 bells says, I'm ready. 12 L's, you funny. I saw you today and you was ready to work it out when I saw you then. Miss Forola says, you give me fervor. I got the thermometer and the hot flames. Edward Smart says, Miss Forola, hello. Julie Issy shouting out Gigi. Miss Forola shouting back at Edward. We got Mama Bear of 4 in the house tonight. She says, hey, everybody. We appreciate you stopping by for story time, Mama Bear of 4. We have Deidre Mosley in the house tonight. Said, hello, host and everyone. Deidre, I don't remember if this is your first time, but we appreciate having you to come by and join us for story time. Mama Bear of 4 says, what's the book name? It's called My Struggle and Broken Pieces, A Healing for My Soul. And it's available at Amazon. Picky Dale, Mama Dale says, hey, love, to Deborah Mosley. Deborah Mosley says, hey, to Mama Dale. Miss Full Roller. Let's see, Deborah. Mosley. Miss Full Roller shouting out Ever Smart. Mama Bear shouting out everybody. Deborah Mosley says hello, host and everyone. Mama Bear, okay. Mama Dale says hey to Deborah Mosley. Deborah Mosley says hey to Mama Dale. Miss Full Roller says Sharonda the Goddess, happy birthday, and she's already throwing birthday cakes in the stream and dancing. And Gigi says welcome to Storytime, Deborah Mosley and Mama Bear 4 and Pickadale, Mama Dale. All right, so it's Sharonda the Goddess's birthday, July 7th, that just passed. So we're going to celebrate her Storytime style. So what we do is, Sharonda, you let me know in the stream which song you want me to start out with. Do you want the traditional birthday song? Do you want the Marilyn Monroe style? Do you want the Stevie Wonder style? And then we'll close out with the Two Live Crew style. So which one do you want, Sharonda? The traditional birthday styles, the Marilyn Monroe style, or the Stevie Wonder style? Just throw that in the stream. While we're waiting on her, Julie Issy says hey to Mama Dale. Hello, I see you. Deborah Mosley says hello to Gigi. Mama Dale says hey, love to Julie. And Julie says, oh, that will be great. Thanks. Come on, Sharonda. We're waiting on you. Okay, Sharonda either left the building or Sharonda isn't sure. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to start out slow with the Marilyn Monroe style. And then we're going to close out with the Two Live Crew style. So what I'm going to do is, when we get to the Two Live Crew style, when I say, what's that number one? Look at 12L says, I'm here. When I say, what's that number one zodiac sign, or what's that favorite zodiac sign, I want you all to throw Cancer in the stream. Now, I know everybody think their birthday is the best, but we're not celebrating y'all tonight. We're celebrating Sharonda the Goddess in this Cancer season. And we're going to let 12 Bells be celebrated in here too, since she's a Cancer. So the song is for her too, but we're mainly celebrating the Cancer season. So I don't want to see no other sign thrown in this stream other than Cancer. When I say, if I call any zodiac other than Cancer, I want y'all to throw a note in the stream. And when I say Cancer is working that thing out, I want y'all to throw working that thing out. So, when I say what's that number one zodiac sign, whoever throws Cancer in the stream first is going to win a book. And when I say Cancer working that thing out, whomever throws working that thing out in the stream first is going to win a book. So I'm going to give away 2 books. So I'm going to tell you the rules again. When I say what's that number one zodiac sign, you're going to throw Cancer in the stream. Or if I say what's that number one zodiac sign or favorite zodiac sign, because I never know which one's coming out first. But if I say what's that number one zodiac sign or what's that favorite zodiac sign, you're going to throw Cancer in the stream. When I finally get to the part where I say Cancer is working that thing out, whoever throws working that thing out first in the stream is going to win a book. All right. So, and don't forget, when I say if I mention any zodiac other than Cancer, y'all going to throw no in the stream. But I'm not giving a book for the no part. Just Cancer. What's that number one or favorite zodiac? Cancer. Whoever throws it in the stream first wins a book. And when I get to the part, say Cancer working that thing out. Whoever throws working that thing out first in the stream wins a book. So here we go. I'm going to start out with the Marilyn Monroe style, and I'm going to work my way up to the other one. All right, here's for Sharonda the Goddess. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sharonda. Happy birthday to you. Yay! Happy birthday, Sharonda the Goddess. All right, here we go. Get ready. When I say what's that number one or what's that favorite zodiac sign, whoever throws Cancer in the stream first, and I'm going to need my moms to help me look, that's who wins a book. And when I get to that part, say Cancer working that thing out. Whoever throws working that thing out first in the stream, that's who wins a book. All right, here we go. Not yet, Gigi. That don't count. I haven't said it yet, Gigi. What's that number one zodiac sign? Cancer. I said, what's that number one zodiac sign? Cancer. Is it Pisces? No. Is it Aries? No. Is it Libra? No. Is it Taurus? No. What's that number one zodiac sign? Cancer. I said, what's that number one zodiac sign? Cancer. Is it Aries? No. Is it Pisces? No. Is it Taurus? No. Is it Capricorn? No. Cancer, working that thing out. 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 Well, but y'all forgot the rules. All right, I see the nose. So maybe my stream moving slow. I see the nose. I see Cancer. But nobody said working that thing out. Cancer, working that thing out. Cancer, working that thing out. Sharonda, working that thing out. Sharonda, working that thing out. Cancer, working that thing out. Cancer, working that thing out. Okay, now let's go back and see who won these books. So the first person who put Cancer in the stream, let's see. Because I know Gigi jumped the gun. So we can't go by Gigi. Okay. I see 12 bells. 12 bells has Cancer in there, but wait a minute. That was before Gigi, so that don't count either. Okay. So I'm going to start from where Gigi put Cancer in the stream because she jumped the gun. Okay, so it's still 12 bells. So 12 bells, well, let me know, because sometimes the time is off. Now, from me looking at the stream on my laptop, it looks like 12 bells is first. And then Carolyn Eats All is after her, and Mama Bear of 4. So, Gigi, drop in the stream who you see, because you might have a time by yours. I don't have a time by mine. And let me know if it was 12 bells first or Carolyn Eats All. Those are the two that I see had Cancer in there first. Then everybody's celebrating Cancer. Mama Bear 4 came right behind Carolyn Eats All and said Cancer. EJ Wooson says thumbs up. 12 bells says no. Full roller. Everybody saying no when I was calling any zodiac other than Cancer. Everybody was saying no. They said Cancer is the number one. Look at that. Sharonda, Miss Full Roller says no. 12 bells dancing her way through. Mama Bear said no. Everybody's saying no when I called anything other than Cancer. Everybody's saying Cancer. Everybody's throwing, look at that. Mama Dale said no when I called anything other than Cancer. Gigi's throwing cakes in the stream. And 12 bells says working that thing out. Okay, so it looks like 12 bells was the first one that put working that thing out in the stream. Mama Bear came behind her and said working that thing out. And Eating with Miss P said working that thing out. So Gigi, I also need you to look, because if 12 bells also said working that thing out. What's going on here? Little creepy crawl, look like a spider. If 12 bells was the first one to say working that thing out, and she was the first one to throw Cancer in the stream after your name. You have to look after your name, Gigi, because you started prematurely, you and her. So look after your name when you put Cancer in the stream, and you'll see 12 bells name, Carolyn Eats All, and Mama Bear 4. So whoever said Cancer First is the winner of the first book. Now, if 12 Veils said it before Carolyn and Mama Bear, and if 12 Veil was the first one to say working that thing out, I'm not going to give her 2 books. I'm going to give her 1 book, and then whoever said Cancer after her, let's see who said working that thing. Whoever said working that thing out. Whoever said working that thing out after her. So that would be either Mama Bear 4 or Eating with Miss P. So if whichever one of them said it first, they'll get the second book rather than me give 12 Veils 2 books. So now I'm going to continue down the stream so I can see what Gigi is saying. Miss Full Roll is laughing at EJ Wooson. She's doing a thumb down to the cancer. Miss EJ, you're not supposed to thumb down the cancers in the cancer season. You acting like 12 Veils now. Gigi's throwing ice cream in the stream. And Miss Full Roll is laughing at her. And then she says, work at a takeout. And 12 Veils is laughing at E.J. Wooson. Says, I see that. I remember when I was doing that. Yes, she was. Okay, so Gigi is saying that 12 Veils was the first one to say cancer, to put cancer in the stream. And then she says Mama Bear 4 was the first one to say working that thing out. Okay, so what I need you two to do is hit me up on IG at Deb's Glad _Tidings and provide me with a mailing address so that I can mail you all your book. Thank you all for that group participation. I love it. I appreciate you all helping me to celebrate people's story time style. I'm not going to prolong the night. I appreciate each and every one of you for stopping by. Story time is every Monday, Wednesday, Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So Monday will be our next story time, and I'm going to put together another one of my little story shout outs. So Monday we'll be doing that. So I'll have that story put together, and we will shout out YouTubers in the story. And then maybe Wednesday, Friday, we may go back to the book. I don't know. Everything really is predicated on how I am feeling physically. And so I wanted to do a story time shout out today, but I just didn't have the energy. Even though I felt pretty good, I didn't have the energy to put into the amount of time it takes me to pull those stories together. So it was easier for me to read from my book. So my plan for Wednesday is to do my story time shout out, and then Monday to do the story time shout out, and then Wednesday to either continue with, depending on how long the story time shout out, because sometimes we'll get a story that runs 2 days. But the plan is Monday, story time shout out, Wednesday to get back into the book. But we'll see how that goes. And if for some reason I decide to cancel story time, I always throw up a little brief message letting you know that it was canceled and when we'll possibly resume with story time again. Always remember, until we meet again, may his peace be with you. And remember, I have a will to live. I will see you all at the next story time. Thanks for coming by again, and good night.